morning show, folks. I'm Jim Williams, and we have Hurricane Katrina making landfall as of this hour, August 29th, 6:30 a.m. We have Hurricane Katrina as a Category 4 hurricane with winds of upwards of 150 miles per hour, making landfall in southeast Louisiana, moving through the Southwest Pass into Port Sulphur in the Plaque Mines, and is heading up towards St. Bernard Parish, and it's going to pass very close to New Orleans. This is a live cam shot from New Orleans. You see the wind whipping around and the lights flashing, and we have winds right now around 70 miles per hour. Now let's take a look at our current position of Hurricane Katrina. There it is. There's the wind field, and you see the wind barbs, and here we have wind gusts coming around near New Orleans around 80 miles per hour, and all these winds are going to be pinwheeling in here over the next 3 to 4 hours over New Orleans, and we're going to be watching for storm surge. That's going to be the big story here, storm surge, and we're going to be waiting for waters up 15 to 20 foot surge coming in like this over the north portion of Lake Pontchartrain and pushing the water down into the city of New Orleans, which is right down in here. And all this water is going to be piling up in here as Hurricane Katrina passes off to the north like this. All this water and wind is going to be driven into New Orleans, and that's what we're going to be watching for here. And then, of course, once it gets up in this area, we're going to have the southerly storm surge coming in up to 25 to 30 feet coming in on the entire coast of Mississippi here. And this is going to be very, very bad here in the next few hours. So stay tuned with us. Watch the whole presentation as it's going down, and we're going to be flipping through the networks. We're going to be checking out different video feeds. And let's quickly go now to CNN.
Periodically, you'll see of light,
go to CNN here and see what's happening.
Dark. Certainly something we've expected. From our vantage point, which is pretty high, I also can survey the streets all around this garage, and I can tell you that we see no sign of flooding at this particular point in time. Of course, there's a lot of puddling. The rain can be very intense at times, as can the winds. Periodically, we hear huge roars, and you look to the sky and you think, my gosh, there's something flying up there. Of course, there aren't any aircraft at all. What you're hearing is the wind just howling through the skyscrapers here in New Orleans. It's really quite an incredible thing to hear. As you've mentioned, a ghost town. That's certainly the way to describe it.
Now, here's our live cam from HurricaneTrack.com. He is located in Gulfport, Mississippi, and he's a little bit further away from where the center is right now, but let's take a listen in and see what's happening there.
4 miles southwest. This one's coming out. I can't compete with it. I see what we look at.
You can hear the wind and the rain kind of hitting their windshield. They have some small talk going on there. They leave the mic open all the time, so we're just going to kind of listen every now and then and see what they have to say.
Oh, it's something. Yeah, right there.
Okay, let's take a look at a radar here and see what the latest position of our Hurricane Katrina is, and we'll get a much better idea of the overall movement as we pan out on this image. Okay, we are loading the images, and there we go. There is our latest image, and you look at this tremendous band of high winds here coming over Burris, Louisiana, southeastern Louisiana, and look at the reds up here near New Orleans. Oh my goodness, from Slidell all the way down towards New Orleans, we have a dark red band here with winds probably hurricane force that are pinwheeling around into the city of New Orleans. And now we have another feeder band that's moving north, and that's going to be pinwheeling in. So I would imagine we're going to start hearing about some water starting to intrude on the city pretty soon here. Now here's our satellite. I want you to take a long look at this loop because this hurricane was very large as it was approaching, as you see there in the picture. And then as it moves north, it starts to shrink a little bit, and then some dry air gets in the system. And now it moves into southeast Louisiana, and it's regaining itself a little bit as it moves into the plaque mines here. And there's your last shot, and the dark reds are not quite as prominent as they were earlier in the loop, but nevertheless they come and go, and those winds, anywhere there's red, you're going to have winds upwards of 150 miles per hour, which could cause catastrophic type damage. Here is Baton Rouge, Louisiana, which is well to the northwest of New Orleans, and you can see the power is still on. Traffic lights are still operating. Here's the port of New Orleans. These cams have been actually, nope, this is 20 minutes ago. It's saved 22 minutes ago. Might not be updating anymore. This is 52 minutes ago, 52 minutes ago, 52 minutes ago. So all the New Orleans cams apparently are down. Biloxi is 1 minute ago, but they have no power, as you can see. Biloxi, Mississippi now has no power. Pitch black. There was lights on earlier, but now they're all out. All of these cams, Ocean Springs, no video. Mobile still has power. This is the Mobile, Alabama cam, and that is still up and operating. Mobile, Alabama still has power, but apparently all these other places are not doing so well. Port of New Orleans, again, these are all older images, 15, 20 minutes ago. All the New Orleans, what happened to the Pascagoula cam is out too, and that was one that was working real well. So let's check out some of the other cams we have going here. Now look at this live video from New Orleans. The wind is really whipping around there in New Orleans, tearing the trees up, and tree limbs are laying in the street, and the winds are really whipping around there. We're going to sit and watch this for a few minutes, and while we're watching this, I'm going to go ahead and read a couple of emails. Hi everyone, I'm watching and listening from Bordeaux, France. We're all holding our breath for all of you. Keep safe, and this is from Sylvie in France. Thank you very much for listening from France. Man, we got a lot of listeners overseas for the broadcast tonight covering Hurricane Katrina. Here's a letter from England, Somerset, England. Keep up the great effort in your broadcasting, and we're all praying for you here, Adam and family. And thank you very much from England. Let's go through more, Eric, emails here. I'm sitting here in Sweden listening to your live broadcasting. I'm glad I found your webpage to keep up to the date on Hurricane Katrina. Very interesting coverage. Keep up the good work. Eric Johnson in Sweden listening in and watching the broadcast as Hurricane Katrina comes in. Here's another email. Batten down the hatches and take care. Thoughts are with you. Ken Morgan in Essex, England, listening in. Hello, Jim. Joel Barrios from Puerto Rico. Thanks for the coverage. Keep up the good work for the people, and going to be one for your sponsor and donation to your work. Thanks. I go to the university now, and I'll continue listening when I get back. Thanks for all the work from Puerto Rico. And that's from Joel Barrios. Thank you very much, Joel, from listening in from Puerto Rico tonight. Thanks so much for keeping us informed about the situation in New Orleans, watching from Brisbane, Australia. Seems like going downhill fast. Thank you very much for listening from Australia. Jim, just a note to tell you your coverage is incredible. I am in Jerusalem, Israel, and my son is getting married tonight, but I'm hooked in for a bit to get some real coverage. Can't watch your internet update too much longer. Have to run to the wedding, but you are very good. Have some relatives in New Orleans and just wanted to know what is really happening. Keep up the great work, and that's from Ted Gross in Jerusalem listening tonight. So, we got listeners from all over the globe. This is from Linda in Missouri, giving urgent weather message from, urgent message from the National Weather Service in Jackson, Mississippi. They've issued an inland hurricane warning for northeast Mississippi tonight. The inland hurricane watch is no longer in effect. This is a warning now. Dangerous Hurricane Katrina continues to approach the northern Gulf, and sustained winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour with gusts to 80 will be possible in northern portions of Mississippi. So everybody in the entire state of Mississippi needs to be prepared for high winds from Hurricane Katrina. Thank you very much for that information, and appreciate all the emails. Let's see here. Emails. Another email. Hi, thanks for all the info. I'm watching from Scotland. Praying it's not going to be too bad for everyone over there. Love, Christine Mack in Scotland. Thank you very much, Christine, for listening in tonight. I really do appreciate all these emails. Again, look at that wind whipping around, folks. That's New Orleans right now. And we're going to be monitoring the networks here for anything we can find that has to do with what's going on in New Orleans right now. Let's go to Fox News. They got the guys standing out there in some pretty high winds. And let's see what they're saying there right now.
To work to rent them out because all the employees are already evacuated. So most of the hotels are chock full of people, like 100% capacity. Not only the Superdome taking in people, but hotels for those supported. They're doing their public service and coming, helping people out. But down the street, we're getting a real good funnel of wind, rain, and debris right now.
All right.
You still have electricity at in the hotels from what you can see? You guys still have power out there from what we can see?
Yeah, the electricity is only up. You see the traffic signals?
Yeah. Well, we see some light.
Electricity, power still working.
Yeah.
Hey, on the phone, Jeff Petrowski. What do you got, Jeff?
Hey, Jim, I'm in Slidell. Winds are, got some hurricane force at times with gusts, and a lot of electricity is out around the city now. We had big power outages about an hour ago, about 4:30. We started having really big, lots of power outages now, and torrential driving rain, and that's about it. What's the eye doing?
The eye is moving still due north. It's wobbling. The last recon fix had it just wobbled to the left a little bit, surprisingly, and that continues at more of a threat to New Orleans in a due north course. Looks like they're going to be on the western eye wall in the city of New Orleans here in about the next 3 hours.
Okay. Yeah, the winds here are picked up. We've got a north-northwest wind, here at Slidell, gusting probably, I'm sure we've had a couple of gusts over, pretty high there, 65, 75 in that area in the last hour and a half or so. You're saying north-northwest or north-northeast? Probably on the building behind, they might be slightly out of the northeast, but they're probably north-northeast. Occasionally getting gusts out of the northwest, like it's trying to come around to the northwest a little bit.
I just had a report that on the news here that we're streaming that the power went out in near the Superdome, and all the people that evacuated into the Superdome don't have any power in there now, and the backup generator is kicked in, but it doesn't turn the air conditioning on, so all those people are going to be having a rough time in that Superdome.
That's my understanding as well. I understand that some of the hotels in the Hilton Hotel there in New Orleans apparently has a swimming pool above the entry of the main entry there of the hotel, and apparently it's leaking and sheetrock fell in the atrium or something down into the entrance there of the Hilton is what I just heard on the local radio here. But don't hear anything else really bad right now, but looks like the New Orleans itself maybe is going to be spared the worst, maybe as it goes east of them, I guess.
Okay, Jeff, keep us informed. Any spotting of the water? Is any water coming up anywhere?
They tell me it's rising. The big push that the big push that everybody's talking about right now, what I'm hearing locally media, is that they expect the extreme storm surge, or the 20, 25-foot storm surge to go into past Christian, kind of like where Camille went in. That's Waverly, Bay St. Louis, right in that area is where they expect the worst storm surge, is what the locals are saying now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Jeff, give us a call a little later. Let us know what's happening up there in Slidell.
Bye-bye, buddy.
Okay, thank you. That's Jeff Petrowski, storm chaser in Slidell, Louisiana, which is north of New Orleans. And he's awaiting, said they're getting some gusts to hurricane force, but no live hurricane force winds as of yet. There's our live cam shot outside of New Orleans there. Let's check out Mark Sidov's live cam, and he's got that cam streaming pretty good too. There's some trees and the light there, and let's turn up the volume a little bit and see if we can't hear what's going on here.
Mark.
And you can see the winds there. Apparently one of the rivers poured over its banks, reaching record levels, and they're saying they had to evacuate 2 of the shelters because of the rapidly rising water.
That's right, Karen. When you take a look at this rain, it's certainly no surprise that even emergency shelters are being evacuated in the lower parts of Mississippi along the coast. This rain I've never really felt rain like this. It's just one step away from being underwater, I think. The sheets are just pouring down. It's hard to get a satellite picture up. We're fighting through it. So if you lose me or if you lose our sound, it's hard to get a shot out during this rain.
We just got in here. Hello, from the Mann family in Sunshine Coast, Queensland, Australia, listening in. All of our prayers and thoughts are with all in New Orleans. Godspeed. Katrina? I don't know if that's the person's name or if they're saying the name of the hurricane. Okay, hope from Tapera, Brazil, listening in tonight, this morning. I'm losing track of all time here. Folks have been up all night. Tapera, Brazil, listening in. Thanks for the news of Katrina. I'm following the live video. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Appreciate that from Brazil, listening in. Hi there. I thought that we had bad weather here during the athletics world champs earlier this month, but you guys over there are facing the real force of Mother Nature. Thank you for your informative website. And we wish you luck with the furious Katrina. And this is from Heimo Hanian in Helsinki, Finland, listening in. Just incredible the amount of people overseas that are listening in. Again, that 6 a.m. advisory, I forgot to read that out to people. And the 6 a.m. advisory has it moving due north at 15 miles per hour, and it's at 29.1 north, 89.6 west, or about 70 miles south-southeast of New Orleans, moving to the north. And the highest winds right now are 145 miles per hour, 145 miles per hour, and the pressure has continued to rise slowly at 918 millibars. So the pressure keeps going up and up, and it's a sign of a weakening system. And it weakened just in the nick of time because it was really coming in there as a strong Category 5. And not that this is, it's still going to be devastating, but really could have been a lot worse had this thing maintained that intensity. Hi, everyone. Thinking of everyone there. Stay safe. This is Andrew from Melbourne, Australia. Jim, I just woke up, going to work soon, very tired anyways. The eyewall replacement cycle happened overnight, and ironic, the recon is starting to report a slight increase in wind as well as the eyewall noted in the last recon. It looks like it completed the eyewall cycle just as it was coming in. Anyways, latest advisory is at 145 and made landfall already. New Orleans is getting winds over hurricane force. I expect major flooding soon. You're correct about that. That's going to happen here shortly, and unfortunately, a lot of the cams are down, and we're not able to really watch it as it's happening. Just got a call from Ruben. He now has no power, lost it at 5:50 a.m. Central Time, and this is from Linda in Las Vegas reporting that. My dad lives in Biloxi, and he is staying in a shelter there. I live in Memphis, Tennessee, and I want to thank you for the live online coverage of Hurricane Katrina and sparing me the frustrations of switching from channel to channel just to find out what's going on. I can't thank you enough for your service, and this is Katie Biffle. With her father that lives in Biloxi, and he's staying in a shelter. Okay. Katrina Intermediate Advisory, we got that already. All right. Again, you're looking at Mark Smith's live cam. Let's look at the recon fixes here. And as you can see, the little white dots you see on your screen, those are vortex messages, and they show the area of lowest pressure in the center of the center, so to speak. This is the area of lowest pressure that's in the center of the hurricane. And as you can see there, it's almost due north now. It wobbles a little bit as it moves, which is fairly common with hurricanes. They wobble around. And the latest position has it right in the Plaquemines, in the southeast Louisiana region there, and heading into St. Bernard Parish. And it's going to pass just east of New Orleans, and New Orleans is going to get that northerly fetch coming in here, and that water is going to pile into Lake Pontchartrain. So we're going to be watching that very carefully. Let's turn it over to CNN here real quickly and see what they're saying on CNN. Are we not getting it? What's going on? Oh, we got the wrong... Okay, here we go.
And it's the majority are either the emergency workers and their families. We have some firefighters here, and it's just a large amount of people that are out in this kind of weather doing their job, but their families are here and they're safe.
We're looking, Tricia, at pictures inside the Superdome where they have many multiples of the number of folks that you have, some 9,000 people. Richard, thanks for being with us once again. How much closer is Katrina now to making what I guess you consider to be official landfall?
Well, we believe the center of the hurricane has actually made landfall in between Grand Isle, Louisiana, and the mouth of the Mississippi River. During the next several hours, it's going to be passing along a very irregular coastline, partially over water, partially over land, and it's about 70 miles south-southeast of New Orleans. So by late this morning, midday, the hurricane, the eye, should be passing near or over New Orleans, and then into the afternoon, be very near the border between Mississippi and Alabama. So during this time, the storm surge could be increasing. The levees protecting the New Orleans area could be overtopped, and we could see storm surge values on the Mississippi coast 20 feet or more.
How fast is the storm moving right now?
Right now it's moving northward at about 15 miles per hour, and we expect that general motion to continue most of today, and it'll gradually speed up and head off to the north-northeast on Tuesday.
Chad was talking earlier about the levees, being overburdened and flooding, but from the top down, because I guess that's the real problem, isn't it?
Correct. What we do is we try to forecast what we think the storm surge would be, and then compare that to the size of the levees surrounding the city. And it looks like it's going to be very close with some of these levees, that some of them, the water could rise just to or above the height of the levees, and the water could spill over, and that could cause flooding inside the levee protection system.
Give me a sense of how bad you think this is going to be. The words like catastrophic have been used by numerous people regarding this storm. Is that still safe to say?
It certainly is possible. Whenever you have a Category 4 hurricane making landfall anywhere, you could get extreme to sometimes catastrophic damage. Structures could be completely destroyed in some cases. And on top of that, this hurricane is making landfall in an area that is quite susceptible to storm surge. So certainly, I think people are going to be astounded in some cases by what they see after the storm passes by.
Cams that are simply not... Okay, this is updating. Here's the live... cam from the French Quarter, and it's starting to get light there in the background. You can see the cam is starting to pick up on the light out, and it's just beginning to get a little bit light, so maybe now we'll be able to start seeing something. There's rain on the lens. These are all fresh images coming out of New Orleans, and power is still on from New Orleans, but we're not getting the real video going here. That cam is down. We're not getting any live video from the live webcam. Again, here's Mark Sudduth's cam from Gulfport, Mississippi. You can see the trees really whipping there in the wind, and here's our satellite image. Now, this is important. Let me pan out of this here so you can see what's going on. Notice how hurricanes coming in, and the deep reds are where those winds of about 140 plus miles an hour are, and they're pinwheeling around, and in the very last image, they're starting to head up in the direction of New Orleans. We have all the reds up in here in New Orleans, pinwheeling around, and there's some deep reds that are coming into southeast Louisiana, and again, this whole fetch of high water is going to be coming up in here. But right now, New Orleans is getting hammered. There's no doubt about it. And it's going to be interesting to see if the western eye wall flares up as it passes by New Orleans. We're going to be keeping a very, very close eye on that.
We just got from Dr. Maestri. It really is kind of a big sigh of relief. And, maybe we have dodged a huge bullet. I mean, of course, there's going to be a lot of destruction from these heavy winds. But, again, as Dr. Maestri said, it could have been so much worse. As Jesse Sentimont said, down in Plaquemines, it could have been a lot worse. And as we all agree, is we got the best of the worst case scenario. Well, apparently so far.
So, yeah, let's just wait and see what happens before the day is done.
Well, we're all asking for some good.
That's exactly my point. I don't know why they're talking like it's relief. Oh boy, we can. It's they're wrong in saying this. I'm telling you right now. By the time this thing gets up near Lake Pontchartrain, it's going to be a different story, and there's going to be a lot of water rushing in there, and I think they're maybe giving the all clear. I'm not saying they're giving the all clear, but they're just giving that relief thing a little bit too soon, and I think they need to be very careful with that wording, with the amount of water that's going to come rushing in. Got an email from Mark Sudduth here. Jim, the Tahoe cam is up, and the HLN2 cam is up. It is in downtown Gulfport. Okay, he's in downtown Gulfport, Mississippi. Okay, yeah, that's what we figured. Here's another email. Not sure if this is the correct email link. Been watching on live web links since Friday, keeping track of events. Despite the severity of the events, we are watching with awe and trepidation and as to the safety of all who will be affected in the hours to follow. We have a friend in Miami who we emailed some days ago and have still not had a reply. God willing, we will hear from him soon and extend our prayers to all of those in the affected areas. And this is from Mick and Val in North Wales, UK. Mick, the people in Miami right now, there's a lot of power problems down there still. They're still recovering, so I would imagine that you're probably haven't heard from him simply because they're just trying to get things cleaned up and get the power back. So it's not a catastrophe or anything. It's just that the power went out down there. And that's probably why you haven't heard from your friend down there in Miami.
There's wind waves. Looks like the water is a couple of feet deep there, maybe a foot deep. Mainly in the street. As you can see, it undulating just a little bit. I think that's probably 5 miles south of where I am right now. No more than 5 miles.
Mark, how are you holding up there? We're watching your live webcam right now.
I'm holding up pretty good. It looks like the cam number 2 there down in Gulfport. Looks like the surge is starting to come up the street a little bit.
Now, we're looking at your live streaming cam. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, there's 2 of the streaming cams that are running. We had 4. 2 of them failed for various reasons. And Hurricane LiveNet 2 is running, as well as Live Tahoe Cam.
Okay, and those could be accessed from your front page at hurricanetrack.com?
Let me send you, Jim, the link to the to the Gulfport cam, as we'll call it.
Okay.
Send that to you in an email, and you are more than welcome to show folks that.
Okay. Well, just to let you know what's happening here, we had a bunch of webcams that were streaming all over the place, and they've all been knocked out due to power outages, I assume.
Well, this one's up and running because it's inside of a storm case. The camera's not. The power supply is. It's a huge sealed battery that'll run for the next 15 hours. It is. I just sent you the email, Jim. You should have it any second. When you see this, I can't say that no network has anything any better because I don't know that, but this is going to be impressive when that surge rolls up Highway 49 there.
All right, I'm going to be looking for that. Of course, we're streaming it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mark Sudduth from HurricaneTrack.com. He's in Gulfport, Mississippi right now. Is that where you are?
Yes, I was going to head over to Waveland over on Bay St. Louis, but it's far too dangerous to go over there.
Yeah, what are your winds there right now?
The highest wind I've had in the last few minutes was 65 miles per hour. Down here about 9 feet off the ground.
Okay, and you're further away from the center than they are in New Orleans right now, and I guess you're expecting
those too, so I'm not as exposed here.
Right. So what time do you think the worst conditions are going to arrive in your area?
It's about 6:38 Central Time. I'd say within the next 3 hours, the core of the hurricane will be over us.
Yep, it's looking that way. All right, Mark, is the power still on in that area?
No, the power's off for the most part. The few of those blue and greenish blue explosions earlier, it was very weird to see that as the sun started to come up. I'm very, very lucky that this is working. This particular little experiment here is working while the sun is coming up. I had no such luck during Ivan, and now not only is it working, but I'm able to show it. I can't wait for you to see this link, Jim. It is just going to blow you away.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and look it up right now and see if we can get it on the screen here. And I'm going to let you get back to work. I know you got a lot of stuff going on there. We've been listening on your audio every now and then, to your conversations and stuff, and flipping it back and forth between the news reports. And your audio's coming in pretty good, actually.
Good. Glad to hear that. It's not bad considering we're under one heck of a hurricane.
Yep, we can hear the wind and stuff, we just listen in, and if they're not saying anything in particular, we'll switch it back and forth, but we can hear it okay.
Very good. I'm glad to hear it.
All right, Mark, keep up your good work, and let us know if anything drastic is happening there.
Well, just keep watching that cam. It should run for a while. Sprint batteries on the towers will run for about 6 hours. And then the cell networks will start going down. So I think we're going to be able to get this when the eye comes over.
All right, we'll be waiting on it.
Great, thanks.
All right, Mark, thanks a lot. Take care. All right, that's Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. Let's go ahead and try to get his cam up.
And one place that this hurricane is headed to is Gulfport, Mississippi, and that's where our storm tracker Jim Cantori is right now. And Jim, are you seeing any signs yet of the surge?
Yeah, Heather, sorry, I couldn't hear you. The generator just kicked on here because of the power outages that we just had. They keep coming on and off, and this one's been off for a while now. But again, the winds continue to pick up, winds 60 miles an hour. Also the water, and I think that's the question you actually asked me about the water here. We are a half mile from the beach, and Highway 90 is the road that goes right on the beach there. That is completely covered in water right now. There's another access road on top of that we're allowed to still drive on, but the water came up pretty quick, and obviously as that water continues to come up, which will be, if you will, in the surge area, we need to be very, very careful to head out there and get the pictures. But we can do that as long as it's available to us. But again, the water is starting to rise here in the Gulfport area. It's already breached the seawall. It's already come up on Highway 90. Let's go ahead and try to pan around here and show you what we got. Again, winds gusty, rain continues to come down. We are just getting pummeled with rain. You can see how the tree limbs are getting swept with the rainfall and the wind obviously gusting. Occasionally we'll see a tree limb blow through the parking lot. Small branches mostly right now, again with winds 50, 60 occasionally with gusts. But, again, I can't see that far out, but the more light that comes on this, the better chance I'll have of giving you a better picture of what's going on here. But right now, guys, the big concern is the water coming in from the surge. It's starting to come up already as high as 10 feet no more than a half mile off to my south.
Okay, this is Mark's cam we're looking at here. Look at the wind blowing down the street. Now, this is in Waveland. I'm not sure if he said this was Waveland or if this was in Gulf Shores or Gulfport, Mississippi. I think this is in Gulfport, Mississippi, where Mark Sidith is. Look at that wind blowing down the street. And that's a surge. I believe that's water in that road there. You can see the wind blowing off of that water, and it's just tremendous. Look at that. Oh, my goodness. Look at that wind blowing that water all over the place. That's just tremendous. And it's just going to get worse here, folks. We're going to keep a very close eye on this cam, and this is in Mississippi, as the winds are going to be pinwheeling in towards Mississippi, and it's going to be very devastating in this area. Let's go ahead and read a couple more emails while we're waiting. Here's some tide gauge data. This is from Skep in Germany. Lake Pontchartrain Causeway. And they're showing the tide the gauge is up to almost 5 feet now. Tide levels at Lake Pontchartrain are upwards of 5 feet at this time, and precipitation is about 0.3 of an inch. And the wind direction is primarily out of the north right now. And wind speed is around 25 plus miles an hour. And that's from the tide gauges at Lake Pontchartrain. I appreciate that from Germany. I really do. I'm going to hold on to that and keep checking it every now and then. Looks like you'll need more bandwidth. We have 1 gigabyte backbone link that we're happy to open for a relay with Katrina over Florida. Can we get one of your technical guys to contact us? Well, the problem is we're fine on the bandwidth here, Ben. We're pulling everything just fine here. We can only stream. This is a server that is on a server software program that is on a server in a colo facility. So it's not like we can just start streaming on any server. You need the actual software on your server to make that happen. So you can't help us out with any bandwidth. Appreciate the offer, but we have plenty of bandwidth and we'll be able to handle it. And that's from Ben Gray. Appreciate that. Let's see, more emails here. Watching from Alaska, you're doing a great job. Thank you for being there for all of us up here in Alaska. We've been watching all night and pray for all the people who are going through. Keep up the great work. Hi all, just wanted to let you know we're thinking of you all and watching you from Sydney, Australia. We hope and trust that you'll stay safe and well and feel I can speak on behalf of all Australians when we say you are in our hearts, our thoughts and prayers during this stormy ride. Please, please, please stay safe and well. Melanie and Mark in Sydney, Australia. Okay, 18-foot waves just south of Biloxi. All right. There's Mark's webcam you're looking at there, streaming live cam in Mississippi. That thing is really getting whipped around, boy. Those winds are kicking in Mississippi right now, and they're going to be kicking for probably the next 4 or 5 hours, and they're going to have this huge surge coming in on our donut here. These winds, 140, 145 miles an hour in this red donut here. And winds up in this area are 100 miles an hour. We got winds about 80 miles an hour in Lake Pontchartrain, 95. Well, let's see, winds around and maybe 100 miles in New Orleans, and 80, 90 miles an hour all over the place. And then, of course, up here where Mark Sidith is, they have maybe winds around 70 miles an hour that you're looking at right there in that video. Let's go to Steve Lyons at the Weather Channel and see what he's saying.
Here by the strong winds there, and you can see the eye wall has made landfall in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, and it's moving to the north, ever so slightly to the east of north, so the circulation center will miss downtown New Orleans. But they're still in some very strong winds and some very problematic surge problems there. It looks like the worst scenario is going to be for Mississippi, though. The water level rise there already 8 to 10 feet, and the right front quadrant of this hurricane, that's still very strong, has not gotten there yet. So we expect that water rise to increase rather dramatically in the next 2 to 4 hours. That's when it's going to peak. There's a circulation going overland. There's New Orleans downtown. You can see it moving to the east. And there's the Mississippi coastline, Waveland, Mississippi, Biloxi, Gulfport. You're in for some very high water in the form of surge in the next 2 to 3 hours.
Okay, this is Mark's cam we're looking at here. Look at the wind blowing down the street. Now, this is in Waveland. I'm not sure if he said this was Waveland or if this was in Gulf Shores or Gulfport, Mississippi. I think this is in Gulfport, Mississippi, where Mark Sidith is. Look at that wind blowing down the street. And that's a surge. I believe that's water in that road there. You can see the wind blowing off of that water, and it's just tremendous. Look at that. Oh, my goodness. Look at that wind blowing that water all over the place. That's just tremendous. And it's just going to get worse here, folks. We're going to keep a very close eye on this cam, and this is in Mississippi, as the winds are going to be pinwheeling in towards Mississippi, and it's going to be very devastating in this area. Let's go ahead and read a couple more emails while we're waiting. Here's some tide gauge data. This is from Skep in Germany. Lake Pontchartrain Causeway. And they're showing the tide, the gauge is up to almost 5 feet now. Tide levels at Lake Pontchartrain are upwards of 5 feet at this time, and precipitation is about 0.3 of an inch. And the wind direction is primarily out of the north right now. And wind speed is around 25 plus miles an hour. And that's from the tide gauges at Lake Pontchartrain. I appreciate that from Germany. I really do. I'm going to hold on to that and keep checking it every now and then. Looks like you'll need more bandwidth. We have 1 gigabyte backbone link that we're happy to open for relay with Katrina over Florida. Can we get one of your technical guys to contact us? Well, the problem is we're fine on the bandwidth here, Ben. We're pulling everything just fine here. We can only stream. This is a server that is on a server software program that is on a server in a colo facility. So it's not like we can just start streaming on any server. You need the actual software on your server to make that happen. So you can't help us out with any bandwidth. Appreciate the offer, but we have plenty of bandwidth and we'll be able to handle it. And that's from Ben Gray. Appreciate that. Let's see, more emails here. Watching from Alaska. You're doing a great job. Thank you for being there for all of us up here in Alaska. We've been watching all night and pray for all the people who are going through. Keep up the great work. Hi all. Just wanted to let you know we're thinking of you all and watching you from Sydney, Australia. We hope and trust that you'll stay safe and well and feel I can speak on behalf of all Australians when we say you are in our hearts, our thoughts and prayers during this stormy ride. Please, please, please stay safe and well. Melanie and Mark in Sydney, Australia. Okay, 18-foot waves just south of Biloxi. All right. There's Mark's webcam you're looking at there, streaming live cam in Mississippi. That thing is really getting whipped around, boy. Those winds are kicking in Mississippi right now, and they're going to be kicking for probably the next 4 or 5 hours, and they're going to have this huge surge coming in on our donut here. These winds, 140, 145 miles an hour in this red donut here. And winds up in this area are 100 miles an hour. We got winds about 80 miles an hour in Lake Pontchartrain, 95. Well, let's see, winds around and maybe 100 miles in New Orleans, and 80, 90 miles an hour all over the place. And then, of course, up here where Mark Sideth is, they have maybe winds around 70 miles an hour that you're looking at right there in that video. Let's go to Steve Lyons at the Weather Channel and see what he's saying.
Here by the strong winds there. And you can see the eye wall has made landfall in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, and it's moving to the north, ever so slightly to the east of north, so the circulation center will miss downtown New Orleans. But they're still in some very strong winds and some very problematic surge problems there. It looks like the worst scenario is going to be for Mississippi, though. The water level rise there already 8 to 10 feet, and the right front quadrant of this hurricane, that's still very strong, has not gotten there yet. So we expect that water rise to increase rather dramatically in the next 2 to 4 hours. That's when it's going to peak. There's a circulation going overland. There's New Orleans downtown. You can see it moving to the east. And there's the Mississippi coastline, Waveland, Mississippi, Biloxi Gulfport. You're in for some very high water in the form of surge in the next 2 to 3 hours.
See Mississippi, and this is about where the cam is located here that you're looking at. Here's an email. I'm sitting here in Austria and watching your stream about Katrina. I hope there will be no humans hit by the tornado and wish you good luck from there. Well, I'm sure there will be tornadoes inside the hurricane itself. We'll have to wait and see. Watching from Newcastle, UK. Sister lives in San Antonio. Thinking of you all. Thank you very much, Pam. Any other emails here? Get a lot of emails about this broadcast. There's the live cam with the wind blowing around, and we're watching very carefully to see what happens. Let's check our webcams and see if any of them are. Even the Grand Isle cam is down now. That was 23 minutes old, 2 minutes old. Actually, the Baton Rouge cams at least are up, and they're operating. Baton Rouge, there's Baton Rouge, heavy rain. There's a few cars on the road out there in Baton Rouge. This is well northwest of New Orleans. There's the river cam. Port of New Orleans, these are all old, 2 hours old, 2 hours old. All those cams are down. This is WLOX. It's active, but the cam is out for some reason. They're probably in the middle of a power outage. But get this, this cam is up, and this is Mobile, Alabama, and this is updated as right to the minute. Notice a very heavy rain. You can hardly see anything, but nevertheless, the cam is up and operational. Again, there's Mark's cam, Mark Sideth. And let's check out our latest radar images. And let me refresh this here and see if we get any new images here and get an idea where this surge is headed. Okay, again, I'm going to tell you something. New Orleans, that band is heading into New Orleans, and there's going to be some surge flooding up in here that's going to be tremendous. I don't know if you see it on your screen there, folks, but all that orange on the screen is going to be moving in. I'm going to stop this image here because I really want to show you. Okay, I'm stopping the image, and I'm going to illustrate this. The surge is going to come in like this. Here's this red band here, and the surge is going to pinwheel into Lake Pontchartrain like this. It's heading. This center is heading due north, and here's Mark Sideth's cam is right up in here that we've been streaming, and there's going to be a big, huge surge coming up here in about 2 hours, and this is all going down right now. This is a live radar shot of Hurricane Katrina making landfall with winds about 140 miles per hour. And just to give you the graphic on this, here's the HurTrack program showing the wind speeds, and again, they're upwards of 100 miles an hour right inside this red circle here, and that's what's going to happen here over the next hour or so, as there's your last satellite shot, and the dark reds have gone away, but there's still going to be a tremendous surge coming in here nevertheless. Best wishes from New Zealand, watching your Hurricane City broadcast via the web here in Wellington, New Zealand, wishing you all the best. That's from Sharon and Brett. Thank you very much, Wellington, New Zealand, listening in. It's just incredible. A lot of people overseas that are caught up in this hurricane and what it's going to do when it makes landfall. And it's just hard to get a feel, and this is what's frustrating about these hurricanes is they make landfall and the media, a lot of times they're not in the right place, or you're getting a feeling that you're not getting the full story here. And that's what we're trying to capture here this morning, is trying to get a feel for what's really happening. And what I'm going to do shortly here is start contacting some of my chasers out there, because I really want to, right about now is when the highest winds are coming in there, and we'll get a good idea of who is where and who's seeing what. But this is the live cam from Mark Sudduth, and you can see that it's frozen. Is that a frozen cam? Yeah, that's frozen. Nope, there it goes. Now it's back streaming again. It's on again, off again, but it's kind of tough to get a feel for it when it's not streaming. It's kind of on again, off again. But look at when it does move. I mean, you can clearly see the water here along the sidewalk. I'm trying to gather that this is a sidewalk over here, but I'm not sure. But look at all the water moving. This is all water. Surge of some kind coming in here. Unless that's some kind of an illusion, it looks to me like that's flooding going on there, and that could be from the storm surge in Gulfport, Mississippi. Serious situation. Now, as far as New Orleans is concerned, all the webcams are down. We cannot get any more webcams from New Orleans, so best wishes from New Zealand, watching your Hurricane City broadcast via the web here in Wellington, New Zealand. Wishing you all the best. And that's from Sharon and Brett. Thank you very much, Wellington, New Zealand, listening in. It's just incredible. A lot of people overseas that are caught up in this hurricane and what it's going to do when it makes landfall. And it's just hard to get a feel, and this is what's frustrating about these hurricanes is they make landfall and the media, a lot of times they're not in the right place, or you're getting a feeling that you're not getting the full story here. And that's what we're trying to capture here this morning, is trying to get a feel for what's really happening. And what I'm going to do shortly here is start contacting some of my chasers out there, because I really want to, right about now is when the highest winds are coming in there, and we'll get a good idea of who is where and who's seeing what. But this is the live cam from Mark Sudduth, and you can see that it's frozen. Is that a frozen cam? Yeah, that's frozen. Nope, there it goes. Now it's back streaming again. It's on again, off again, but it's kind of tough to get a feel for it when it's not streaming. It's kind of on again, off again. But look at when it does move. I mean, you can clearly see the water here along the sidewalk. I'm trying to gather that this is a sidewalk over here, but I'm not sure. But look at all the water moving. This is all water. Surge of some kind coming in here. Unless that's some kind of an illusion, it looks to me like that's flooding going on there, and that could be from the storm surge in Gulfport, Mississippi. Serious situation. Now, as far as New Orleans is concerned, all the webcams are down. We cannot get any more webcams from New Orleans, so
let's check in with Richard Allen now. He's been covering the storm all night long, and he has the very latest. Richard, where are you stationed? Foley.
Go ahead, Richard.
Hey, you guys. I don't know if you can hear me. I can see you right there. Actually, I can't hear you right now. My IFB just cut out. But conditions are, and I know we keep saying this every time we cut in, but conditions are truly going downhill. The rain is coming in. This band of rain we've been getting just in the past 10 minutes is becoming more and more and more intense. We're actually in Foley right now. We actually had to pack up the show and move it a little bit north, the flooding down in Gulf Shores, where Leon actually is still trying to get a little bit of video and bring it to us and feed it back to you. The flooding down there and the conditions and the wind were just getting a little too treacherous. We thought it would be better say them sorry, and to be able to still connect with you guys back at the station, we thought it'd be better to head north here to Foley. And it's amazing what a difference 12 hours makes.
Powerful storm moving through Katrina, going to leave quite a mark on Biloxi. And I do think near the coastline, with that storm surge flooding, it could be tremendous. Could even restructure the beach like Camille did back in 1969, because you get the hurricane coming, and as it's sucking up all that warm water out there to feed the storm, it creates a big bulge in the ocean. Then eventually, that has to go somewhere. And unfortunately, that could be the coastline of Biloxi and points eastward. So storm surge flooding, it's not over yet. The storm has made landfall, but the threat still remains. We're definitely feeling the effects of Katrina as that eastern end of the storm continues to push over Biloxi.
And Jeff, when you were able to brave those winds, I know you were clocking them at 80 miles per hour and you were in a protected area. I know you're not standing out in the thick of it now, but would you say they've gotten significantly worse?
Yeah, I'm looking out right now, and we look out to the unsheltered areas, and there's winds easily right now over 100 miles per hour, probably gusting 110 to 120 if I was to guesstimate right now after, measuring that wind earlier. I mean, we have signs up and down the interstate that we can see that are signs no longer, just the pieces of it just flying all over the place. And certainly the rainfall has let up a little bit. As we know, the back of the storm system not holding as much moisture, as much rainfall. So that's the good news. So maybe that will ease some of the flooding concerns. One more thing we want to touch on here, of course, a lot of people staying here for shelter about 3 miles inland. A lot of those people live on the beaches, and they've been hearing from their families who are in not-so-good situations, from people who have decided not to evacuate, rooftops being ripped off their homes, trying to seek any shelter they can get. Other folks about a mile inland we've heard from have about 7 feet of water in some of their homes. Of course, it's a very low-lying area here, and they're having to retreat to the second story from the storm surge flooding. We've heard Highway 90 has probably 7 to 10 feet of water on it, and the casinos under a tremendous amount of water that line Biloxi. If you've never been there, they line the water, and a lot of those casinos are out on the water for legal purposes, for gambling, and those casinos are going to suffer a lot of damage, certainly economically going to impact us emotionally as well. Many people just taking a toll here as we've had a busy season last year and another busy season, this year. It's certainly not good news.
Well, we appreciate you bringing us the very latest there from Biloxi, Mississippi. NBC Weather Plus meteorologist Jeff Ranieri. Thanks, Jeff.
100-mile-an-hour gust. We just had 118-mile-an-hour gust at Pascagoula, which is off to my east. 118 miles an hour. We are under tornado warnings up and through here. And again, each one of these little pockets that rolls through with the core of the storm will produce and can produce tornadoes. You're not going to see them, but they can produce these excessive winds. They're going to bring down the winds. One of the biggest problems that we are having right now is with the surge. All right, water is coming up all over US 90 right now. Okay, it is all over US 90. So where I was staying the other day, guys, in the Quality Inn, which is south of US 90, it is water, and given the size of these waves that are coming in, I would not be surprised if the water was lapping up to the second floor of that hotel. So the room I was staying in is now completely underwater. Places like Treasure Bay, the Hooters, any of the buildings that are south of I-90 on the water side are being absolutely crushed right now with the surge that's coming in. And that water is going to get at least 10 to possibly 15 feet higher than it is right now. So we have the surge coming in as we speak. Winds, again, 90 to 100 miles an hour in gusts. 118 is the biggest one we have so far in Pascagoula off to my east. What does that mean? That's a Category 2 wind, so we're talking about extensive tree damage. We're talking about damage to some homes. Perhaps even entire roof structures may be undermined as a result of that kind of wind. So it's getting bad here, no question about it. As long as we can talk to you, we will. We're safe. We're in a safe spot. Cruise inside. And we will take pictures if we can, and certainly feed them back to you when we can get our satellite dish on up. Right now, we're going to protect the crew and just kind of hunker down and give you these phone reports as long as we can. Thank you. Back to you.
Getting wind gusts up around 70 miles an hour. That's been our peak so far. And as you can see, the horizontal rain blowing across I-65. Hardly anybody is out this morning, which is...
Okay, folks, you're listening to continued coverage of Hurricane Katrina. This is Mark Sidiscam, HurricaneTrack.com, and you look at these tremendous gusts coming in here. Look at the water rising in Gulfport, Mississippi. We've been switching back and forth sources, finding out that New Orleans is having some major problems. We have major problems in Pascagoula and Biloxi. Unbelievable. We've had so many people watching this video right now that I think our server just crashed, but we're continuing on with the broadcast so our subscribers can watch this at a later date. Just unbelievable footage. Everybody in the world is watching this unfold right now. This is just a major situation going on, and we just hope that we're not going to have a lot of fatalities out of this, but it's not looking good right now. Again, that's Mark Sidiscam. Let's see. Here's Mobile. Here's a live shot of Mobile, Alabama, and this is updated 8:09 from Mobile, Alabama. Complete whiteout conditions practically, because all these winds are whipping in here. Just incredible video footage here of the winds and the whipping in, and the look at the water and oh my God, look at this. Just incredible amounts of water coming in on Gulfport, Mississippi right now with a Category 4 hurricane. It doesn't get any more dramatic than this, folks. Look at that. It speaks for itself, and we have a very serious situation unfolding here. Let's go ahead and listen in on radio from the affected area.
To 120 miles per hour, and that will begin soon. These destructive winds will produce wind damage similar to a tornado. So that's telling you to seek shelter on the lowest floor of the building in an interior hallway or a room such as a closet. Stay away from windows and remain in your safe shelter until the eye wall passes. So they're warning you about the winds of the eye wall, and then the eye wall itself can, of course, produce tornadoes. We also have the newest position. While you take a look at the satellite picture, and that's the colorized satellite, the darker colors are the higher cloud tops where the stronger storms are. The 8 a.m. position from the National Hurricane Center of Hurricane Katrina is latitude 29.7 north, longitude 89.6 west. That's about 40 miles southeast of New Orleans and about 65 miles southwest of Biloxi. So the storm is very close to being parallel to the city of New Orleans. The eye wall is going to pass to the east of New Orleans, and then it'll start moving forward, so northward rather. So we're getting very close to that point of the maximum impact for the city of New Orleans. And as you can see from that satellite shot, well, we'll go back to that in a second. Let's finish up this. The pressure is rising more, up to 923 millibars, and it is still moving towards the north at 15 miles per hour. So we're getting very close to the point where it reaches.
We're working on that, but outside, I'm looking at a hotel. I believe it's the Comfort Inn across the street, and 4 floors of siding, paneling on the outside wall in one section completely ripped open. Around the corner of the building, on the next side of the building, there's at least 4 windows completely shattered out, and the bus stops, the wind is just barreling right now through these streets. But the winds, we've been seeing debris everywhere. There are branches all over the street, bus stops, pieces of bus stops lying around. Now, as for the flooding, the big question with New Orleans, on one side of the street where I'm looking out the window right now, the storm drain is taking the water and sucking it right down perfectly. However, on the other side of the street, and I would imagine this has got to be the story all over town, branches, palm branches, as well as other debris are clogging the drains. So now you're starting to get several inches of rainwater just sitting there around the curve and on the street, essentially taking out one lane of traffic. Obviously, one of the first things city crews are going to have to do when they get out and about is get those cleared out so that everything can get drained. But it's starting to appear that perhaps the several feet of flooding that New Orleans was perhaps anticipating just may not happen, thanks to that eye wall shifting slightly to the east of New Orleans, or roughly 5 a.m., 4 a.m. Eastern time this morning.
Closes back up to about a foot wide opening.
And you said there were several of those beginning to appear?
Yes, it's all along. You can tell there's one weak seam where it is opened up, and it's all along this seam. The danger is, of course, it's coming right down on the lights that are used to illuminate the events here.
And Brian, earlier this morning we were told that the officials inside there were not allowing people to go down actually onto the field area. I had seen some video just moments ago that showed there were people down there, but give us a sense, and I guess I don't know right now whether this is live video or tape, but give us a sense for where most of those people are right now. Are they still in the stands?
No way to get live video out of here, so you're seeing tape from last night probably. Right now there's no one on the artificial turf field because of this water coming down, and they're worried about debris.
Hey folks, what you're looking at there is a live cam shot from Mark Sudduth in Gulfport, Mississippi. Every once in a while it'll get stuck and then it'll continue streaming. It's amazing he's able to stream in those kinds of conditions. But we are having major problems with the server. We've had overloads from people checking out the live video feed. It's been pretty tremendous. We're continuing to monitor this devastating situation going on in the areas being affected here. Let's take again a new look at the. This is the latest image from WeatherTap, and you see the bright reds here pinwheeling into Mississippi. That's all going to be pinwheeling in. And look at the red bands over western New Orleans. And they're getting hammered in New Orleans right now. Let's make no mistake about it. They're getting hammered by northeast winds, tremendous winds. There's been a couple of holes blown in the roof of the Superdome. And earlier in our broadcast, we, along with all the emails, people were wondering how that dome was going to hold up with all the people evacuated in there. Now there's roofs. The roof is peeling back. This is just a tragic situation unfolding. Hopefully, those people are going to be safe in there. Again, here is the current position. Let's go ahead and answer the phone here and see what we've got. Nope, we missed a call. Okay, might be a chaser trying to call. Just tremendous situation unfolding. There's your map right there. The ring of high winds, and again we're seeing winds in here of 130 miles an hour, approaching 130 miles an hour gust over in the city of New Orleans right now. Oh boy, this is just a real serious thing going on here. And again, here's Mark's cam from Gulfport, Mississippi, and we're going to continue to monitor the networks to see if we can get any information about what's happening in New Orleans, because it does not look good for what's going on there right now with the roof blowing back on the Superdome and all those people evacuated in there and all the flooding going on. That's in the wrong place. I'm just going through the networks here trying to find anybody that's in New Orleans that can give us some information. Let's see. Monitoring MSNBC. Let's see what the latest. Let's try the Weather Channel here and see if they've got anything going on. Okay, let's try. Hey, folks, what you're looking at there is a live cam shot from Mark Sudduth in Gulfport, Mississippi. Every once in a while, it'll get stuck and then it'll continue streaming. It's amazing he's able to stream in those kinds of conditions. But we are having major problems with the server. We've had overloads from people checking out the live video feed. It's been pretty tremendous. We're continuing to monitor this devastating situation going on in the areas being affected here. Let's take again a new look at the. This is the latest image from WeatherTap, and you see the bright reds here pinwheeling into Mississippi. That's all going to be pinwheeling in. And look at the red bands over western New Orleans. And they're getting hammered in New Orleans right now. Let's make no mistake about it. They're getting hammered by northeast winds, tremendous winds. There's been a couple of holes blown in the roof of the Superdome. And earlier in our broadcast, we, along with all the emails, people were wondering how that dome was going to hold up with all the people evacuated in there. Now there's roofs. The roof is peeling back. This is just a tragic situation unfolding. Hopefully, those people are going to be safe in there. Again, here is the current position. Let's go ahead and answer the phone here and see what we've got. Nope, we missed a call. Okay, might be a chaser trying to call. Just tremendous situation unfolding. There's your map right there. The ring of high winds, and again we're seeing winds in here of 130 miles an hour, approaching 130 miles an hour gust over in the city of New Orleans right now. Oh boy, this is just a real serious thing going on here. And again, here's Mark's cam from Gulfport, Mississippi, and we're going to continue to monitor the networks to see if we can get any information about what's happening in New Orleans, because it does not look good for what's going on there right now with the roof blowing back on the Superdome and all those people evacuated in there and all the flooding going on. That's in the wrong place. I'm just going through the networks here trying to find anybody that's in New Orleans that can give us some information. let's see. Monitoring MSNBC. Let's see what the latest. Let's try the Weather Channel here and see if they've got anything going on. Okay, let's try.
It's kind of silly to do something like that, but you need to remind people, and people do.
Evidently people were, and usually they respond with a newser after that's the case, and they observe people out and about. That's still incredible video of the causeway. Certainly looks like the Gulf pre-hurricane, not the normal Gulf even, as the water's usually docile calm. We see breakers just encompassing the causeway. Jim, do you have any other shots of the causeway? This is a great shot here, but maybe to give us some more perspective on some other angles.
Excuse me.
We can flip around there. There's the bayway. The water's been rising, approaching the top of the bayway throughout the morning, and we've seen there's some more causeway video there, the breakers over the causeway, more bayway with the water churning. We see whitecaps in Mobile Bay. That only happens in a massive thunderstorm event or a hurricane event.
It does seem like there still is a good bit of distance between the bottom of the bayway and the top of the water. It's still
getting a bayway right there below the Alabama DOT symbol.
Still a few feet of clearance, but it's gotten a lot closer than it was earlier. Probably about half as much room as there was just a couple of hours ago. There's probably about 7 or 8 feet earlier. Now it looks like 3 or 4 feet.
And as you can see, look at the heaviest amounts of rain. The most severe activity is basically from Biloxi all the way back, in through New Orleans. That is just an unbelievable area of convection right in here. This is the northern part of the eye. But again, the worst part is this right front quadrant, right all in here. And what did I just circle? Biloxi is getting the strongest onshore winds and the strongest storm surge. Let's talk about storm surge. That is the killer here. 20 to 25-foot storm surge all along this area, including still New Orleans. New Orleans is definitely not out of the woods. So when we're talking about storm surge, we're talking about that wall of water that gets pushed ahead of the storm due to the very strong winds. And again, these winds have been clocked at 115 miles an hour as far east as Pascagoula, and that's Pascagoula, Mississippi, the home of that big shipyard there.
We're seeing conditions really get bad here in Biloxi. Rain is coming down in sheets.
And that happens. Okay, he's back again, and he's gone again.
Those sheets of rain obviously causing coverage problems.
Yeah, well, you can imagine what the situation looks like in Mobile, in New Orleans, and in Biloxi, where the meat of the storm is coming through right now in a lot of those areas. And like you mentioned a few minutes ago, Pascagoula seeing wind gusts up to 120 miles an hour. This is Biloxi, Mississippi right now. We're seeing video of a Lowe's where the roof is getting blown off the Lowe's, the metal roof just coming apart and blowing down the street. And you can see the wind gusts there. A little while ago, Jim was saying we're 94 to 100 miles an hour over there.
Moments ago, before we went on the air, you can kind of see it here.
The emergency, 300 people were at an evacuation shelter in Chalmette, Louisiana, which is east of New Orleans, essentially, and they had to be rescued from the evacuation shelter when the building was somehow compromised. The last report we heard is the sheriff's office there was trying to figure out what to do with these people. The Superdome roof, as you said, seems to be okay, despite some of the rumors earlier, but I talked to a police officer that held the phone out and said, you hear that noise? And what it was a popping sound. It was windows in the skyscrapers in downtown New Orleans, the windows popping, the same kind of thing that happened in Houston in the early 80s is happening in New Orleans. So the critical question, as you guys show the satellite and the radar images, is for New Orleans, does this continue the sort of easterly jog which should spare most of New Orleans? Shepard Smith, for example, in the French Quarter, should be on the weaker side of the storm. He should be on the western side, missing the eye wall, but there are parts of New Orleans, the city itself, actually some of the poorest parts of New Orleans, that still could be in the eye wall.
Louisiana, here we have New Orleans with dark red bands over New Orleans, the city. We have dark red bands moving into Gulfport, Mississippi, and the coast of Mississippi. All phone circuits are down. I'm unable to get in touch with any of the storm chasers. There's been a hotel collapse with people trapped inside. The Louisiana Superdome, the roof has ripped off. It's just a tragic situation unfolding here, and unfortunately, we've lost our server on top of all this because of the overload of people watching this feed. and we're doing our best to get it back online for the audience here, and we're going to record this anyways. This is all being recorded as this historic hurricane is wreaking havoc on New Orleans and Mississippi, and we're going to hear about a lot of stories when this is all said and done. Again, we've tried to get Mark's cam. That is down now. All the webcams are down. All power is down. It's basically everything is in a shutdown mode right now. Even the local media is really unable to get much information about what's happening out there. It's just basically we don't know. I mean, right now there is a massive burst of convection right over the city of New Orleans. And let's look at this last satellite image here, folks. This is just amazing what's going on here in the city of New Orleans. And we're going to stop this image on the last image so you can see for yourself what's happening here. And here's the last image right here. And there you see it. There is a burst of convection right over the city of New Orleans, right there, that dark red dot right in the middle of your screen. Those are winds probably in excess of 130 miles an hour that are right over the city of New Orleans. Look at that right there. The city of New Orleans is absolutely getting hammered right now. We have a huge storm surge working into Mississippi. All circuits are down. Everything is down. This is turning out to be exactly what they expected, a major catastrophe unfolding here. And we just hope that everybody is hunkered down and they're away from the glass. They're in the centers of their homes. This is terrible, folks. So what's going on here? And we're going to hear a lot of stuff.
The water was literally climbing up the steps at the post office. And there was a super concrete, big superstructure post office. And I went inside the post office to take refuge while roofs around me were coming off the buildings.
Unbelievable. All right, Jeff. Anything else to report? Anything? You might want to repeat a couple of things you said earlier because I was having problems here, and I don't think I got it recorded.
This Gulfport wind's probably over 130 here. Some condo structure failure. I do have several businesses that have total roofs ripped off. A shopping center is kind of a flea market shopping center was totally engulfed on fire. As I came into town, there's another roof ripping off the Lazy Boy furniture store right in front of me. There's it's lines down, telephone poles down. I have if it stays up very much longer here, it's going to be really it's unfolding as a catastrophe here. I mean, if this wind doesn't die down soon, it's getting worse. I mean, it's just the damage is getting worse by the minute.
Wow. All right, Jeff, stay safe, stay low, and stay away from that water because it is going to get worse looking at this radar. It's looking really, I mean, this thing must have intensified or something in the last couple of hours because it's the reds are lighting up all around the eye.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
All right, take care, Jeff. All right, that's Jeff Petrowski, Storm Chaser. There's let's put our radar image up there, our satellite, enhanced satellite. You see the reds building around the center again, and right over New Orleans. They've got to be getting hammered right now, and we just hope that the people did what they had to do to prepare for this storm, which is primarily getting out of harm's way from this major hurricane that's making landfall here this morning. We're monitoring all the networks here, trying to get any late information. Let's go to CNN here and cover that.
15 miles an hour. We expect that track to take a more northeast.
Look at the Superdome because we've heard these reports that they were having problems over there. From our vantage point, we can hardly see the Superdome, and we're about a half a block away. Whiteout conditions here, incredible rain. Punishing winds. We heard on the radio that they might be trying to move some people out of the Superdome. I don't see how they could possibly do it in these conditions. We could barely put an eye around the corner of the building to take a peek at what was happening over there. I know there's been talk about the roof. Is there a problem with the roof? From the understanding, and with this kind of condition, we can't possibly see whether there is or not. I've got some skyscrapers off to my right here, and we are just watching them fall apart. The hotel is right there. There's a corner of windows, and that corner, oh boy, every time we look up, there's another couple gone. Debris flying past us. It's draperies, it's Venetian blinds, it's papers, it's bedding. absolutely incredible scene here.
Who are in an apartment complex about a mile away who are calling for help, and they can't get out in the storm. I'm looking out the window at an enormous flying debris, rooftops. This is one of the soundest structures on the west bank of the New Orleans metropolitan area, and pieces of the roof are peeling off. I saw a fairly substantial tree rolling down the parking lot here as if it was some kind of toy. That's one event. Then there was confusion. The story that just breaks your heart is to hear this crying woman in calling 911 in her building with 3 children up in her attic. What we have learned since then is there was confusion. We thought that she was in Jefferson Parish, somehow in the 911 system on a cell phone or something else. She's in New Orleans, in eastern New Orleans. So when you show your viewers this satellite image and the radar images that you've been showing, the western part of the eye wall, the western part of a very serious part of this storm, the eye wall, is passing over that area, one of the poorest areas of New Orleans. This woman in the Ninth Ward of New Orleans calling 911 and getting an operator in essentially the wrong parish or the wrong county.
You can just barely see those light posts. And down behind that Katrina, there were a couple of policemen with their lights on, covering up and stopping people from getting on the causeway. Obviously, you don't want anybody on it at that point in time. You can't even see those cars anymore. They are completely obscured because of that rainfall. So best you kind of see them now, maybe coming out of the fog there. You know what? I just want to give best wishes to all those law enforcement people, and everybody's actually trying to keep everybody safe here. They are in harm's way for sure. Let's go back to the maps, and I'll show you that New Orleans, you're just about ready to get out of all this mess. Here's New Orleans right there, the little peak down here by the bottom of the freeway. I'm going to zoom in here for you. New Orleans, you see this line of rain, this line coming through. This is actually the western eye wall, Slidell, getting the worst of it right now, all the way over to Bay St. Louis. That's the worst possible place to be right now.
Like the Hyatt, clearly there's heavy damage down in the Hyatt. There are from the top floor, 15 floors down on the western side of the building. You can see there are windows broken on every floor. Curtains are blowing to the wind, and that's a clear sign that there is not only damage on one side of the building, but perhaps on the other side as well. This brings up an issue that had been concern for city officials that's called vertical evacuation. A lot of people, when they fled their homes, thought they would be safe going to high-rise hotels, of which there are many here in New Orleans. The city was never really a big fan of that. Yes, it gets people off the street, but it puts them right up in the air, right where those 140, 150-mile-an-hour winds can strike. A lot of the hotels were trying to urge their guests to come down from their upper floors and put them into conference rooms away from windows, away from open spaces. Let's hope that's what happened in the Hyatt. If the Hyatt is suffering, you can bet that there are other high-rise hotels suffering. Most of the windows have been graded up to a speed of 150 miles an hour. Randall?
Go ahead.
MSNBC weather meteorologist Jeffrey is standing by for the moment. Right now he's standing upright, which is a good sign. But still, there's winds and heavy rain pounding in that part of the city right now.
Yeah, you can't see it on camera, but probably about 20 feet away from me, we have winds probably steady at about 9 to 100 miles.
The water is coming up tremendously fast. It's just it's inundating this whole area. There's windows breaking on the first. Actually, they're already broken on the first floor, and they're working on the second floor. And we're working our way up. We have 5 stories to go up. It is just total chaos. It's very intense. This storm surge is incredible right now.
All right, Mike. I don't know if you've already heard that parts of the Superdome roof blew off with all those evacuees in New Orleans, and New Orleans is reporting very heavy damage. And in the eastern areas of New Orleans, people are swimming for their lives, trying to get on the roofs of their houses. It's just a complete disaster.
Okay, well, I wanted to call. What's that? Oh. Are you on air, or am I just talking to you?
No, well, you're not on the air because my server went down, but we are recording this, and it's still going to be on the website. Hello? We lost him again. All right, it's impossible right now. Let's go ahead and bring the TV volume back up again.
And in its path, if it's not nailed down, it's going. And we have seen a lot of debris fly behind. You can see some sheet metal flying up there behind me. I mean, this is just unbelievable. The wind and the rain, it pelts you in the face, and it is pounding. Even something as small as a small twig that hits you in the back feels like someone's, really, really hitting you hard. So this storm system moving in and bringing its effects here to Biloxi, and I think there is going to be a lot of damage once we assess things.
Gulfport just getting the worst of it right now. Bay St. Louis, you are now in the eye itself. Don't look outside to see it. Stay inside because you have the other side still to come. But here is Biloxi. Rob is right there in the light blue, and then all of a sudden, literally, I want to keep that camera on as long as we can keep it on, because look at what's coming his way. This is the eastern part of the eye wall, that eye wall running over the barrier islands right into Biloxi, and it is going to get very, very strong. We have another radar that we can actually show you too to give you a different area, a different view. This is called the Viper radar, just for a different little perspective here from Bay St. Louis over to Gulfport. That's where Gary Tuckman is. That's where the weather is very bad there. He just tried to call us and said, man, does it get better from here? And we go, not for a while, Gary. That weather is going to be moving quickly into Rob Marciano's position, literally in the next 15 minutes. So I want to keep that camera on. That's going to be something to see.
Lights out, obviously. People very scared. Pets very scared, and people actually getting hurt in the hotel. We had a woman who was opening the door to her hotel room, and because of the gusty winds, because of the increasing pressure as wind comes through different windows and different doorways, the door slammed on her finger and cut her finger in half. They're trying to get her to an emergency room. They're performing first aid on her, but right now, the Biloxi police are not responding to anything. You can't go outside even 10 feet outside any sort of engineered structure right now, and you'll just get torn apart, Ange. And so where you are is certainly a much better spot. Right now, conditions continue to get worse. What Chad seems to be telling us, it's not going to get any better anytime soon. Back to you.
That the levee break has happened at the levee in the 9th Ward, that they're expecting flash flooding up to 8 feet there. Also, Jefferson Parish is warning that there is a do not drink the water order in place across the entirety of the parish now. For further notice, they believe that the water supply has been breached and it is not safe to drink the water. I don't know if you can hear this wind. I don't know how you wouldn't, but it is ripping the French Quarter in bits and pieces and fits and starts, depending on where you're looking, ripping it apart pretty good. A lot of windows have been blown out. There are curtains flying in the wind. Pieces of roofs are going across. In fact, just down the street on Canal Street, an enormous high-rise hotel, the Hyatt Regency, just had 100 windows blown out. According to the manager there, Michael Smith, 3,000 residents in there at the time. It created a pressure problem within the building. They evacuated all the residents on that side of the building to the other side. So those are the kinds of reports that we're getting from New Orleans, as the storm is about 30 miles east-southeast of the city, and the western side of the eye wall is lapping over the eastern side of the city of New Orleans. So they were spared what Waveland and Pass Christian and the rest of Mississippi are getting now. New Orleans is certainly getting its share.
Chef, did anybody not listen to the evacuation order there in the French Quarter and hang around?
There are a lot of people in the French Quarter. I'm looking from our balcony at the Royal Sonesta across the street to people who live in a building across the street. And
had some major technical problems happen here over the last few hours. Those of you may have been listening in. We had the news reports. Everything was going normally. We were briefly in touch with a couple of storm chasers. And then the bulk of Hurricane Katrina came into the affected areas, such as New Orleans and Gulfport, Mississippi, and areas that are just absolutely getting hammered. And what happened was we had so many people hitting the server and using the clips, hitting the audio feed here that it literally crashed the environment over there at the Colo facility, and they had to do a reboot. And when they rebooted, there was some kind of an error that came up on the server, which knocked the website off, which knocked everything off. Meanwhile, I had storm chasers calling me up during all this to give me reports, one of which was Mike Tice explaining that he was on the 4th floor of a condominium in Gulfport, Mississippi, with a 25-foot storm surge underneath him and windows blown out. There was a car that smashed into the building. He said it's a complete disaster. It's a complete chaos. The city of New Orleans, there's reports of people swimming out of the top of their homes onto the roofs. We got the Superdome in New Orleans that's got holes in it. It's just all hell broke loose in a matter of moments, and then all of a sudden my server problems started acting up, and that just added to the fuel to the fire. So I'm back. We finally got everything back online and back up.
We were in direct contact with all the emergency managers. I'm taking care of from Pearl River, at the state line of Louisiana and Mississippi on over throughout Mississippi. And we were getting up-to-date reports until about 30 minutes ago, and now we're out of business because we've lost communications with them. But that's the same situation we have in the New Orleans area and even west. I tried to get into Homer and get some reports as far as Homer. All southeast Louisiana is without any kind of communications as far as phone service goes.
Before the phones went down, what were you hearing?
Well, we were hearing that early this morning the storm surge started affecting the Gulf Coast from Bay St. Louis on through Pascagoula. And as early as daybreak, it already seen a 10-foot storm surge in the area where it really was clobbered during Camille. And right now, that's what we expect to see is the same type of damage in that area.
Well, you know that area very well. You were raised in Louisiana, and you know the Pass Christian and Bay St. Louis area. What's there to stop these storms? Is it just flat land?
Well, it's very low topography, along the coastline right there. They have a beach in the front. Most of it's man-made beach, but it's very low down in the Waveland area and Bay St. Louis area, and the water's already pounding past that up against the raised area around the ridge that they have in Bay St. Louis. Now, when you get east of that, east of Bay St. Louis, you're having a tremendous problem because you've got water all over the highway in 90 and past the highway. And the last report I had before I lost them in Gulfport, there was water all over the Gulfport up towards beaches.
And what are you hearing about people staying behind, not obeying the evacuation?
Well, there were quite a few there in the Pascagoula area earlier because they were turned back or they chose to return home because of the traffic that they had and the jams they had. Right before I lost them in the Gulfport area, we had many people calling for rescue, and there was no way to get to them because they had to cancel all their calls because of the water.
And they
literally just a minute ago, we saw bits of the roof just flying off, just by the dozens. Bits of the roof, shingles, plywood, 2x4s coming off of this roof. Right here, this stucco part here, you can feel it. It's hollow. We actually saw this starting to shift a little bit. This sliding door over here, as you can see, there's a Spanish language network doing a live shot right here. That sliding door came off its hinges. I'm going to go back over here. Steve, come on back over here. Let's try to keep you back over here. We're going to try to come back in this nook here. Come on, Steve. Let's get back over here. All right. It's definitely a fierce, chaotic scene out here. A lot of debris and a lot of storm surge coming through this parking lot.
But there's going to be a lot of damage not only in that state, but also in Mississippi and Alabama.
Yes, understood, David. I mean, we certainly are talking about the entire Gulf State region here. One quick question that I have for you, though, is so many people watching our coverage want to know how they can help. Can you please tell us what's the best way to help at this point?
The very best way to help us is by making a financial contribution so that we can use those dollars to purchase the resources and assets that we're going to move into the neighborhoods. And that number is 1-800-HELP-NOW, or you can go online and make a secure contribution at www.redcross.org.